Quantum manifestation isn't hard, but this is why you're failing. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." The truth is, most people fail at manifestation, not because it's complicated, but because they overlook the simple power of alignment. Quantum manifestation isn't about forcing reality with endless affirmations or rituals. It's about stepping into resonance with the life you desire. As you listen today, I encourage you to reflect. Where in your life are you still trying to push instead of align? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your story might inspire someone else on their journey. Welcome to Spiritual Wisdom, where together we uncover the truths that can transform your daily life into a path of growth, happiness, and freedom. 1. Manifestation isn't effort, it's alignment. Most people mistakenly believe that manifestation is a battle to be won through endless affirmations, elaborate rituals, and perfectly crafted visualizations. Yet beneath their effort lies an inner state still clouded by fear, doubt, and scarcity. This is where the process collapses, because manifestation is not about effort, it is about alignment. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." If your unconscious mind is still rooted in conflict, no amount of surface work can change your reality in any lasting way. The quantum field, an infinite field of possibility, does not respond to struggle, but to coherence. It listens not to how loudly you declare affirmations, but to the harmony between your thoughts, emotions, and actions. In this intelligent spiritual wisdom, the field reflects what you truly are, rather than what you pretend to be. Think of your inner state as soil. If it is fertile and aligned, even a single seed blossoms. If it is rocky and neglected, no amount of watering will make it grow. Alignment prepares the soil of your soul, while effort alone leaves it barren. This is why so many fail. They visualize wealth while secretly feeling unworthy, repeat mantras while carrying unhealed wounds, and chase abundance while broadcasting stress into the universe. They expect the outer world to shift while ignoring the chaos within. Albert Einstein reminded us, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. The universe is not withholding, it is mirroring. It responds to your true vibration, not the mask you wear. To manifest authentically, you must dare to heal, to integrate the shadow, and to bring unconscious patterns into the light. Jung called this the privilege of a lifetime, becoming who you truly are. When you align with your wholeness, the field responds instantly, because you are no longer asking from a place of lack, but embodying the reality itself. True manifestation is not about pushing harder. It is about surrendering deeper. It is the intelligence of the soul aligning with the intelligence of the universe. When coherence replaces conflict, when your words, emotions, and actions flow in the same direction, manifestation becomes natural, not forced. You no longer fight against reality. You live in harmony with it. And in that harmony, the quantum field delivers with elegance what struggle could never achieve. Comment below. I align with the flow of abundance. If you are ready to shift from forcing effort to embodying true alignment. 2. You don't get it, you collapse into it. Manifestation is not about chasing after what you desire, but about collapsing into the reality where it already exists, where you are no longer separated from it, but living as if it were your present truth. Carl Jung's reminder that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate, captures this perfectly, because manifestation is never about outer effort, but about inner embodiment. When you become the version of yourself who already has what you seek, the timeline naturally rearranges itself to reflect that state, and life begins to mirror back the vibration you carry. This is why manifestation fails when approached as a performance of rituals, affirmations, and forced positivity, because the body still lives in scarcity and fear, and reality cannot be tricked into responding to words it does not feel are true. The privilege of manifestation lies in awakening to who you already are, because spirituality and spiritual awakening reveal that you are not summoning something from nothing, but collapsing into the possibility that already exists in the quantum field. If you long for financial freedom, you must stop waiting for the future and begin carrying the energy of someone already free, moving through life with decisions anchored in security rather than fear. If you crave love, it is not enough to repeat, "I am loved," while feeling empty. You must live as someone who loves and is worthy of love. And from that state, the world reorganizes itself to confirm it. This collapse into reality is not a mental trick, but a nervous system alignment, where your energy radiates safety, coherence, and certainty, and the field responds to match. In everyday life, you can see how this works. A desperate candidate in a job interview repels opportunities, but the one who walks in with confidence and calm draws them in. A person entering relationships feeling unworthy attracts rejection, while the one who carries quiet worthiness becomes magnetic to love. Jung warned that what you resist not only persists, but will grow in size, which is why fighting against your lack only deepens it. Collapsing into abundance is not denial. It is embodiment of the truth that you already hold within. The best athletes don't hope for victory. They live it in advance until their bodies, minds, and emotions are rehearsed into inevitability. Likewise, manifestation is living ahead of time, aligning so deeply with your outcome that reality bends around your state. Every day, you collapse into an identity, whether consciously or unconsciously. The choice is whether you collapse into fear and scarcity or into trust, abundance, and the intelligence of spiritual wisdom. Neville Goddard's teaching to assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled is not fantasy, but a map for living in coherence with what you desire. Faith is not passive waiting. Faith is alignment in action, the quiet knowing that you are already there. When you stop striving to get and begin embodying the self who has already arrived, manifestation ceases to be a struggle and becomes a natural unfolding of your inner state. This is the essence of spirituality and the heart of spiritual awakening. You are not chasing life. You are collapsing into the truth that you already are the person who lives it. 3. The quantum field reads, energy, not words. You can say the words 1,000 times. You can repeat your affirmations morning and night. Write them in a journal, post them on your mirror, and even chant them with conviction. But if your nervous system is still steeped in anxiety, if your chest still tightens with the fear of not having enough, If your stomach churns when you think of bills, the universe isn't responding to the words, it's responding to the energy beneath them. That's the law of the quantum field. As Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And in the realm of quantum manifestation, fate is just misaligned energy playing itself out. You see, the quantum field doesn't speak English or any language. It reads vibrations. It listens to your body, not your vocabulary. It mirrors your dominant emotional signature, not your goals, not your logic, and certainly not your forced positivity. This is why spirituality and spiritual development are not about saying the right things, but about becoming the right frequency. When your words and energy are in harmony, you don't manifest, you magnetize. You're no longer chasing your desires. Your desires are recognizing you as home. What blocks most people isn't a lack of effort, but a lack of coherence. They're trying to speak of abundance while embodying scarcity. They're reciting, "I am wealthy," while carrying generations of lack in their posture, their tone, their breath. And the field doesn't negotiate, it reflects. You might tell yourself you deserve love, but if your heart is guarded, your trust broken, and your nervous system still scans for betrayal, the energy of protection overrides the desire for connection. The field isn't judging you, it's just reading your broadcast. This is where true spiritual development begins in the body, not in the mind. In your breath, your posture, your daily self-trust. Energy doesn't lie. If you walk through life in a state of stress, anxiety, or resentment, your words become noise. But if you walk with embodied peace, self-worth, and faith, your silence alone becomes magnetic. The breakthrough isn't in learning more techniques. It's in unlearning the survival patterns that keep you in energetic contradiction. So don't ask, "What else should I say?" Ask, "What am I still carrying that contradicts what I say?" Your job is to become so aligned, so vibrationally whole, that the quantum field has no choice but to reflect back the truth you're living. That's not magic, it's resonance. And it's available to anyone committed to authenticity over performance. This is the heart of spirituality, not controlling outcomes, but aligning with who you were always meant to be. So pause, breathe, feel. Ask yourself, right now, does my body believe what my mouth is saying? If not, go deeper. Because the field is listening. And it's not listening to your affirmations. It's listening to your embodiment. Leave your likes and subscribe to spiritual wisdom. And don't forget to activate the notification bell so you won't miss any insights that help you align with the quantum field and create your best life. Comment below. I attract abundance with my energy. If you're ready to manifest from within. 4. Coherence is the key mind, heart, and nervous system. When you manifest, the most important factor is not how many affirmations you repeat or how much effort you invest. It is whether your mind, heart, and nervous system are aligned in coherence. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And this truth lies at the very center of manifestation. If your thoughts are pointing toward abundance, but your emotions are stuck in fear and your nervous system is still vibrating with stress, you are sending out a broken signal. The universe does not answer words alone, it answers the total frequency of your being. Think of yourself as a transmitter of energy. Your thoughts provide the words, your emotions add the tone, and your nervous system sets the frequency. When these three elements are in harmony, your signal becomes clear, strong, and undeniable. But if you think one thing, feel another, and act in a completely different way, your message becomes distorted, and what comes back to you is confusion, delay, or even chaos. Spiritual wisdom shows that manifestation is not about pushing harder or controlling reality. It is about resonance. Intelligence in manifestation is not found in force, but in coherence. Many people fail because they try to dominate their reality with willpower alone. They chant affirmations they do not believe. They visualize futures they secretly doubt, and they force positivity while their body still clings to fear and scarcity. This inner conflict collapses the entire process. Jung's psychology explains why. The shadow, when unacknowledged, sabotages conscious intention. You may declare, "I am abundant," but if the deeper self whispers, "I am unworthy," the quantum field will not respond to your words. It will respond to your truest frequency. Coherence is the remedy. Manifestation only flows when your thoughts support your emotions and your nervous system feels safe to hold the reality you are calling in. It is like tuning a radio. If the frequency is even slightly off, static fills the air. But once the alignment is precise, the signal becomes crystal clear. Your mind sets intention, your heart fuels it with emotion, and your nervous system anchors it in safety and trust. When these three centers align, the quantum field mirrors them instantly. This requires practical intelligence meditation to calm the nervous system, journaling to reshape destructive thought patterns, gratitude to awaken and strengthen the heart. Each practice brings another layer of your being into harmony, creating a state of spiritual coherence that turns your manifestation into magnetism. Jung warned, "What you resist not only persists, but will grow in size." Resistance feeds fragmentation, but integration dissolves it, leaving your energy clear, grounded, and powerful. Failure in manifestation is never because the universe ignores you. It is because your inner broadcast is fractured. Your true power lies in aligning mind, heart, and body into one coherent signal. This is the essence of spiritual wisdom, the reason quantum manifestation is both simple and profound. The field does not respond to confusion. It responds to clarity. When your entire being vibrates in truth, your manifestations are no longer distant hopes. They are realities already in motion. 5. The subconscious is the true manifester. The subconscious mind quietly dictates 95% of your life, and this hidden force often overrides the conscious desires you fight so hard to achieve. You may tell yourself you want abundance, success, or love. But if your subconscious has been wired through fear, lack, or unresolved trauma, then every conscious effort you make is sabotaged before it can take root. Carl Jung warned us of this reality when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This is why so many traditional methods of affirmations, vision boards, or visualizations collapse. Because beneath the surface, the soil of your mind is poisoned with old wounds that have never been healed. Think of it like planting seeds in barren ground. No matter how much sunlight or water you give, nothing will grow if the soil is filled with toxins. The subconscious works in exactly this way. You can paste images of dream houses, repeat mantras of wealth, or picture your soulmate's face every night. But if the deeper layers of your psyche are still echoing with stories of abandonment, shame, or unworthiness, those old patterns will pull you back like an anchor. Jung's idea of shadow work is not just theory. It is a necessary act of spiritual awakening. The moment you turn inward to face the beliefs and fears you've suppressed for years. By confronting the parts of yourself that whisper, "I'm not enough," you begin to release the chains that keep you bound to cycles of scarcity and disappointment. This is why true manifestation does not happen through sheer willpower, but through alignment. The subconscious is the real manifester, because it is the fertile ground where intentions either flourish or wither. When the soil is rich with self-worth, healing, and trust in the universe, manifestation feels natural, as if life itself bends to meet you halfway. Suddenly, opportunities appear, relationships shift, and abundance flows, not because you forced it, but because you became energetically aligned. This is spirituality in practice, the awakening of your inner world to the truth that what you carry within will always be reflected without. Modern culture often sells the illusion that manifestation is about forcing positivity, chanting mantras, or endlessly visualizing your goals. But positive thinking without subconscious healing is like sailing against a relentless current. You exhaust yourself, repeat empty affirmations, and wonder why nothing changes. The answer is simple, yet profound. Your outer life cannot rise higher than your inner programming. Real transformation requires pausing to ask, what fears still control me? What beliefs did I inherit that no longer serve my growth? What emotions have I buried that continue to shape my choices? When you begin to bring these hidden truths into light, you reclaim your power and rewire the subconscious to support, not sabotage, your desires. The moment you unite conscious intention with a healed and reprogrammed subconscious, you stop chasing manifestation and instead embody it. You stop trying to convince yourself of abundance and start living as if abundance is your natural state. You stop begging for love and begin radiating the energy that draws love towards you. This is the essence of spiritual wisdom, where manifestation is not a trick or a ritual, but the inevitable expression of a mind and soul finally in harmony. As Jung said, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. When you awaken, you no longer try to force life into your vision. You become the vision, and life unfolds to match it. If this idea resonates with you, comment below, "I agree." And if you see it differently, share your perspective with, "I don't think so." Your voice matters in this conversation. 6. You must feel first, before the form arrives. Quantum manifestation requires that you first become the version of yourself who already has what you desire. You must feel it, live it, and breathe it now, not after it arrives. This is where most people fail. They wait for external evidence before giving themselves permission to feel whole, worthy, or abundant. But the quantum field doesn't respond to your waiting. It responds to your now. As Carl Jung reminds us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Most people unconsciously vibrate from fear, scarcity, or longing, even while speaking words of positivity. But manifestation isn't about repeating the right phrase. It's about becoming a coherent frequency that naturally draws in what matches it. The quantum field doesn't obey your words. It echoes your state of being. You say you want love, but are you embodying love? You say you want wealth, but are you living as if you're already abundant? Spirituality teaches us that everything starts within. Spiritual development isn't a luxury, it's the root of creation. When you heal your nervous system, shift your beliefs, and stop identifying with your past, you free your energy to align with the future that already exists for you in the field of infinite possibilities. The reason most people don't manifest what they want isn't because the universe says no. It's because their emotional signature is saying something completely different than their conscious desire. You can't trick the field with surface-level positivity. If you're still operating from a core belief that you are not enough, that you'll never make it, or that you don't deserve joy, the field will faithfully mirror those beliefs back to you through experience. This is not punishment, it's precision. The field is neutral. It gives you not what you beg for, but what you consistently are. That's why spiritual awakening matters. It peels back the illusions, the conditioning, the survival patterns, and it reveals the truth beneath the noise, that you are always enough, that you were never separate, that you are already connected to the version of you who has it all. The question is, will you feel it first? Or will you keep waiting, delaying, doubting, until form gives you permission to believe? The deeper truth is that quantum manifestation is not about effort, but about energetic embodiment. You don't manifest by controlling the external. You manifest by mastering the internal. The field responds to wholeness, to gratitude, to grounded certainty, not desperation. You must walk like it's yours, speak like it's done, and feel like you're home. Because when you truly align your frequency with your desire, you no longer chase it and it finds you. This is not about pretending. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to forget. When your thoughts, emotions, and body come into harmony, the field reflects back coherence. And coherence is magnetic. So if you want the form to arrive, start by embodying the feeling. Live from the inside out. This is the essence of quantum creation, and this is the spiritual wisdom that changes everything. 7. Emotional regulation and daily practices are non-negotiable. Emotional regulation is the foundation of quantum manifestation, because without mastering your inner state, every intention collapses under the weight of unconscious chaos. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And this truth reminds you that emotions are not obstacles, but intelligent signals guiding you back into alignment. To be emotionally fluent means welcoming sadness, fear, anger, or joy without drowning in them, allowing yourself to feel deeply while gently returning to balance. The universe does not reflect the words you repeat, but the state you embody. And when your body is locked in fear or scarcity, no affirmation can override that. Only through presence and awareness do you shift your vibration into coherence, where your heart, mind, and energy flow as one. Practices like conscious breathing, meditation, and heart coherence are not optional, but daily disciplines that train your nervous system to return to harmony. Just as an athlete cannot expect results without consistent practice, you cannot expect manifestation to unfold while neglecting the inner work. Jung also said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." And this awakening requires you to stop running from discomfort. and instead embrace emotions as guides. Feeling grief without collapsing, anger without exploding, and joy without clinging is the essence of spiritual intelligence, and it transforms your relationship with the quantum field. When you radiate coherence and calmness instead of fear and doubt, reality reshapes itself to mirror that energy. The secret is found in small daily acts of alignment. A few minutes of conscious breath, journaling, or reflection rewires your system and brings you back to center. These micro practices are not trivial. They are the foundation of quantum leaps. Neville Goddard was right when he said, "Feeling is the secret," because your emotions are the vibrational language of the universe. To regulate them is to speak fluently to the field of infinite possibility. This is why so many fail. They try to force positive thinking on top of unresolved pain, but the quantum field responds only to alignment, not effort. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Every time you return to coherence, even after being pulled into fear or stress, you strengthen your spiritual wisdom and intelligence. There is no need to feel good all the time, but there is a need to feel fully without losing yourself. To honor your emotions while guiding them back toward harmony. Jung reminded us, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. Yet when you accept this truth, pain becomes the teacher that awakens your highest self. Breath, reflection, and emotional fluency are the keys that open the door. And when you live in that alignment, quantum manifestation ceases to be a struggle and becomes your natural state. To honor your growth, commit to making emotional regulation and daily practices a priority. Comment below, "I choose discipline," to affirm your dedication and encourage others on their journey. 8. Simplicity is why most miss it. Quantum manifestation is often missed not because it is complex, but because it is astonishingly simple. You are conditioned to believe that success comes only from relentless control, from pushing, chasing, and forcing outcomes. Yet the deeper truth, revealed through spirituality and spiritual awakening, is that creation begins not in struggle, but in surrender. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And this wisdom explains why so many people fail in manifestation. They are trying to overpower life with their conscious will, while their unconscious remains full of fear, scarcity, and mistrust. And so the signal they send to the universe is incoherent. The quantum field does not bend to effort, it bends to alignment. And until you live in coherence, no amount of affirmation or visualization can take root. People repeat words they do not believe, imagine futures they secretly doubt, and force themselves to smile while their body remains trapped in tension. This is like planting seeds and digging them up every day to see if they have grown. Nothing flourishes under such impatience. The field responds only when you stop trying so hard, when you breathe into trust and embody the frequency of what you desire. Albert Einstein once said, "Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it." Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. The simplicity is the challenge, because it asks you to release the illusion of control and choose coherence instead of chaos. In modern life, this truth is everywhere. You chase success through endless labor, and the harder you grip, the faster burnout arrives. You pursue love with desperation, only to repel it further. You fight for peace by battling your own thoughts, And the more you struggle, the more restless you become. The paradox is clear. The more you force, the further you drift. Manifestation requires you to shift from chasing to allowing, from trying to embodying. The quantum field mirrors not what you say, but who you are. And if your being is rooted in fear, no declaration can override it. But if your being is rooted in trust, in calm certainty, then life responds with synchronicity and flow. Spiritual awakening teaches that coherence is alignment between mind, body, and soul. If you think of wealth but still feel poor, your vibration is fractured. If you speak of love but fear abandonment, the signal is distorted. True coherence arises when your thoughts, emotions, and actions move together, when your inner state becomes the very reality you seek. The more you practice trust, gratitude, and calm presence, the more your frequency stabilizes, and the field has no choice but to reflect your vibration back to you. The essence of manifestation is not about becoming something else, but about awakening to what you already are. When you step out of resistance, when you stop chasing and instead live as though it is already done, the universe begins to conspire on your behalf. This is the secret most overlooked. Not effort, but alignment. Not control, but coherence. Not chasing, but embodying. And so, the real secret is not in chasing manifestation with force, but in aligning with the deeper currents of the quantum field that Carl Jung himself hinted at in the space where psyche and matter intertwine. If this message spoke to you, let it be a reminder that your transformation begins in the unseen. To keep journeying with us into wisdom that awakens the soul, make sure you like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming insights into manifestation, psychology, and spiritual awakening. The secret confident women never say out loud. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Aristotle. In a world that often confuses loudness with confidence, there exists a quiet, sacred power that truly confident women carry, and they rarely talk about it. This video reveals that secret, grounded in Carl Jung's deep psychological truths and spiritual wisdom. What if the real strength isn't in proving your worth, but in never needing to explain it? As you watch, consider how this silent inner strength shows up in your own life. Comment below. What does confidence mean to you? Let's open up a dialogue of growth and spiritual awakening. You are not here just to be heard. You are here to be felt. 1. True confidence is rooted in self-trust, not appearance or performance. There's a confidence that doesn't need to be explained. It's felt. It lives in the eyes, in the posture, in the quiet steadiness of a woman who no longer performs. She doesn't seek to be noticed, yet you notice her. Not because of how she looks or what she says, but because of how grounded she is in her own presence. Her power doesn't shout. It resonates. It's the kind of spiritual intelligence that Carl Jung pointed to when he spoke about the individuation process, the journey back to the authentic self, beyond the roles, masks, and expectations imposed by society. This woman has stopped performing to be accepted. She has stopped editing herself for comfort. She doesn't operate from fear of rejection because she no longer rejects herself. Her confidence is not rehearsed. It is remembered. It rises from deep within, from the parts of her soul that once shattered and have since been alchemized into strength. She is not confident because she believes she is better. She is confident because she is no longer trying to be anyone else. She has seen her own shadow and made peace with it. She's heard the voice of her own doubt and chosen to trust herself anyway. Her boundaries are not walls, but wisdom. She no longer explains herself because explanation implies permission, and she no longer seeks permission to be whole. Her stillness is not passivity, it's power. Her silence is not submission, it's sovereignty. She walks into a room with nothing to prove, and that alone shifts the atmosphere. Her aura is uncluttered by insecurity, her energy uncluttered by comparison. She understands now that self-trust is not built by appearing strong to others, but by choosing not to abandon yourself when you're alone. Carl Jung taught that wholeness, not perfection, is the goal of the soul. And this woman embodies that wholeness. She doesn't have to win every argument. She doesn't need every eye on her. Her energy speaks louder than her words. And when she does speak, it is with precision and purpose. Her voice carries the weight of someone who has spent years listening to herself in a world that constantly told her to doubt her worth. The world may call her mysterious or intimidating, but what they're really sensing is integrity. She has integrated all parts of herself: the messy, the divine, the vulnerable, the fierce, and in doing so, has become untouchable in the most sacred way. She radiates the rarest kind of beauty, the beauty of self-possession. It's not just spiritual awakening, it's embodiment. She is not just aware of her power, she lives inside it. Her decisions aren't dictated by trends or validation, but by an unshakable inner compass. She knows that true confidence doesn't need to speak for itself. It simply shows up. And in doing so, it teaches others to rise not by force, but by frequency. This is the secret confident women never say out loud, because it's not something they learned to perform. It's who they became when they stopped needing the world's permission to exist as they are. If you're ready to build true confidence from within, not from performance or appearance, comment below. I trust myself. And let this be your first step into deeper self-trust and spiritual wisdom. 2. Most people silently betray themselves. Daily. Most people unknowingly betray themselves, not through grand decisions, but through the smallest, most ordinary moments, the ones that go unnoticed by the world, but remembered by the soul. Each time you say you'll rest and don't, promise to speak up, but stay silent. Feel something deeply and still ignore it. A crack forms in the sacred bond between you and your inner self. This isn't laziness or forgetfulness. It's a pattern of spiritual self-abandonment. Carl Jung called it the loss of the self, a fracture in the psyche that leads not only to emotional exhaustion, but to a profound identity crisis. Over time, the woman you once were begins to fade. You still smile, you still function, but beneath the surface, you're hollow, disconnected, a ghost living in someone else's story. You don't recognize yourself because you've replaced your own voice with the noise of everyone else's expectations. Confidence doesn't disappear all at once. It erodes quietly when you stop listening to the whispers of your own spirit. When you live more for what others think of you than for what feels true inside, your inner compass becomes blurry. That blur isn't confusion. It's a sign you've drifted away from your center. Jung reminds us that who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. To awaken spiritually, is to return not to the version of you the world applauded, but to the version of you who lived in truth before she learned to shrink, before she was taught to please rather than to trust. The true spiritual woman does not walk with arrogance. She walks with alignment. And in that alignment, there is no need to convince, perform, or explain. Her life speaks for her. Her presence is her power. The real betrayal isn't when others forget your worth. It's when you forget it first. When you sacrifice your integrity to avoid conflict. When you call it kindness, but it's really fear. When you keep peace with the world, but declare war on yourself. And yet, even in the deepest self-abandonment, there is always a door back home. It begins the moment you stop numbing, stop negotiating with your intuition, and start keeping even the smallest promises to yourself. One promise, one choice, one moment of truth. Spirituality is not about rituals or performance. It is about returning. It is remembering who you are underneath the layers you were forced to wear. Your spiritual awakening will not arrive with fireworks. It will come softly in the moment you choose your truth over your habit, your alignment over your apology, yourself over your survival pattern. And in that choice, day by day, your confidence is no longer something you chase. It becomes who you are. Leave a like and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a message that could change your life. Most people betray themselves daily, silently and unconsciously, but not you. Comment below, I deserve to live a financially prosperous life, to affirm your commitment to choosing self-loyalty over silent self-betrayal. 3. The root of insecurity is living from the social mask. Most people confuse confidence with charisma, but real confidence has nothing to do with being loud, visible, or praised. True confidence is the quiet power that radiates from those who no longer depend on the world to tell them who they are. It comes from within, rooted in deep self-awareness and spiritual development, not from how many people approve of you or how often you're applauded. When you live behind a social mask, constantly performing a version of yourself that feels acceptable to others, you trade your essence for acceptance. Carl Jung called this mask the persona, a necessary social function, but a dangerous place to live from. Over time, this detachment from the authentic self leads to chronic insecurity, because no matter how perfect the mask becomes, the soul always knows it's not being seen. That's why praise never feels like enough, and why criticism cuts so deeply. Because it's not just your image that feels attacked, it's your entire sense of identity, which was built on shifting ground. The woman who is truly confident doesn't seek validation, because she already lives in alignment with her values. Her energy speaks before she does. Her presence is her proof. She doesn't need to be the loudest in the room because she's already connected to something far greater than performance. She's rooted in being. She has done the hard spiritual work, embracing her shadow, healing her wounds, and reclaiming the parts of herself she once disowned to be loved. And in doing so, she no longer waits for the world to reflect her worth back to her. She sees it clearly for herself. This kind of confidence cannot be faked or fabricated. It must be lived. It is a byproduct of knowing who you are beneath the expectations, beneath the projections, beneath the roles you've played for safety. Spirituality teaches us that our power doesn't come from being seen. It comes from being whole. Confidence grows when we stop negotiating with our truth to earn approval, when we stop shrinking to fit a room or inflating to dominate it, when we simply allow our essence to speak for itself. This is the shift from persona to presence, and the result is magnetic, not because you're trying to be, but because aligned energy is irresistible. You become a lighthouse, not a mirror. You guide rather than reflect others' opinions. This is what makes confidence sustainable. It's no longer dependent on moods, compliments, or social metrics. It becomes a steady light in your own life. If you've ever felt the tension between who you are and who you've been performing to be, that tension is sacred. It's not something to run from. It's something to listen to, because it's pointing you back to your essence. And from that place, real confidence begins. Not as a performance, but as a natural consequence of inner peace. Not as something to chase, but as something to remember. Your spiritual development isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming yourself again, without apology, without mask, without the need for permission. 4. The goddess energy versus wound energy. Carl Jung once said that the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And for women, this journey is a sacred reclamation of energy. There are two dominant energies shaping a woman's presence in the world: goddess energy and wound energy. Goddess energy is not something you perform. It's something you return to. It's calm, magnetic, and rooted in self-trust. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't chase applause. A woman in her goddess energy has stopped asking the world for permission. She no longer explains her silence or softens her voice to be accepted. Her confidence isn't rehearsed. It's embodied. She's grounded, radiant, and aligned with a deep spiritual intelligence that whispers, "I belong to myself." She walks into the room with no need to dominate it. Her power is her presence. And presence, as Carl Jung would affirm, is not performance, it is integration. But for many women, especially those raised in environments where love was conditional, the dominant frequency isn't goddess energy, it's wound energy. Wound energy is anxious, reactive, and deeply performative. It's the woman who stays silent to keep the peace. It's the woman who overcompensates to feel worthy. It's the woman who fears abandonment so much that she gives too much, too soon, too often. And yet, this energy isn't a flaw. It's an emotional survival code born in childhood, forged in the places where her voice was ignored, her truth dismissed, and her needs shamed. Jung taught that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life. Wound energy is the unconscious taking the lead, but cloaked in overachievement, in busyness, in proving and pleasing. It is a woman trying to earn the love she never had by becoming what everyone else needs. The woman in her goddess energy doesn't operate from the fear of being left behind. She knows what it means to walk away with grace. She doesn't negotiate with disrespect. She doesn't translate silence into rejection or take inconsistency as proof of her unworthiness. She responds instead of reacts. She chooses her peace over performance, her values over validation. And she does this not because she's perfect, but because she's spiritually awake. Because she has faced her shadow and sat with her inner child and said, "We don't have to beg anymore." She doesn't need to speak loudly to be heard. Her stillness is felt. Her decisions come from discernment, not desperation. Her boundaries are not punishments. They are sacred declarations of self-worth. True confidence isn't loud, and it doesn't seek the spotlight. It simply refuses to shrink. A woman who has returned to herself no longer identifies with the roles that once defined her. She is not the abandoned daughter, the people pleaser, the anxious overachiever. She is the woman who alchemized all of that into spiritual wisdom. She is the integration of light and shadow, the meeting point of clarity and compassion. She no longer seeks love, she embodies it. And the world responds not to what she says, but to what she has become. If you're ready to embody your goddess energy and release the wounds of the past, comment below, "I rise in divine power," and let this be your sacred affirmation. 5. Individuation is the path to unshakable confidence. True confidence isn't loud, it's rooted. Carl Jung's concept of individuation reveals that unless you integrate your shadow, your so-called confidence is just a mask, one that cracks the moment life applies pressure. Many women are taught to perform, to appear assured, to smile through the storm. But deep down, without spiritual awakening, they feel unworthy and reactive. Real power emerges when you turn inward, not outward, when you stop running from your wounds and begin to understand them as sacred messages. It's in that moment, sitting with your discomfort, that you reclaim the pieces of yourself you were conditioned to hide. The woman who has faced her repressed emotions becomes unshakable because nothing inside her is disowned. She doesn't need to convince anyone of her worth. She simply embodies it. And this embodiment isn't born from perfection. It's born from truth. Jung once said, "Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries." That means your sadness belongs. Your anger has wisdom. Your fear holds insight. The spiritual path is not about being light all the time. It's about making peace with your shadow so the light can shine through you without distortion. When you've seen your shadow and you no longer fear it, your energy shifts. People sense it. They feel your presence before you speak. You no longer seek validation because your value is no longer negotiable. You've internalized it through spiritual discipline, self-confrontation, and emotional honesty. And this depth is what makes you magnetic. It's not the way you speak, it's the weight behind your words. Not the way you look, but the wholeness you've embodied. In modern life, where speed and surface dominate, this kind of slow, soulful integration is rare, but it's the source of all real confidence. The woman who has walked through her inner darkness emerges not fragile, but forged. Her silence becomes powerful. Her boundaries become sacred. Her decisions come from alignment, not fear. And when someone disrespects her, she doesn't shrink. She simply walks away because she no longer bargains with energy that does not honor her presence. This is the quiet revolution of spiritual intelligence. You don't perform to be seen. You exist in your full truth because you have seen yourself. And in seeing yourself, you have remembered what society tried to make you forget. That your worth is not a performance, it is a presence. 6. Keeping promises to yourself is the foundation of self-trust. Real confidence isn't born from affirmations, it's built from consistent self-honoring behavior. When you do what you say you'll do, even in the smallest of ways, you create a silent yet powerful shift within your being. Waking up early, journaling before bed, saying no when you mean no. These aren't just habits. They are declarations to your unconscious that you are someone worth trusting. Carl Jung taught that the unconscious is not just a shadowy reservoir of repressed thoughts, but a deeply intelligent force that listens to your behavior more than your words. When your unconscious notices that your actions consistently match your intentions, it begins to relax. It starts to believe in you. And with that belief, your self-worth begins to rise not because the world approved of you, but because you stop betraying yourself. Spiritual development isn't about chasing enlightenment on mountaintops. It's about becoming the kind of person your soul respects. It's easy to speak about self-love, harder to live it in the quiet choices of getting out of bed when you promised yourself, stepping away from the toxic conversation, writing in your journal instead of scrolling. These seemingly small decisions are the true rituals of spirituality. They are how you come back into alignment. When your inner voice tells you to rest and you honor it, or when it nudges you to begin something and you actually begin, you affirm a sacred relationship with yourself. Over time, this becomes your spiritual foundation. And with that, confidence grows, not performative confidence, but a calm, magnetic presence that doesn't need to be explained. This is why truly confident women don't need to broadcast their strength. It radiates quietly through their self-respect. They've kept enough promises to themselves that their energy speaks louder than any words. You feel them when they enter a room because they are congruent. There is no war between their intentions and their behavior. They live in alignment, and that alignment makes them luminous. You cannot fake this kind of presence. It is earned in the unseen moments, in the spiritual choices made when no one is watching. It's not about being flawless. It's about being faithful to yourself. If you find yourself doubting your worth, look not at your goals, but at your rituals. Are you following through on what you say you'll do? Are you honoring your boundaries? Are you keeping the promises that matter most, the ones you make in silence, with no audience but your soul? Because self-trust isn't a mindset. It's a memory your body carries every time you didn't abandon yourself. And once that memory becomes strong enough, confidence no longer becomes something you chase. It becomes the ground you walk on. This is the essence of true spirituality. Not perfection, but devotion to your own growth. You rebuild yourself, one sacred promise at a time. If this message stirred something deep within you, stay connected by subscribing to Spiritual Wisdom. Here, we explore the power of keeping your promises to yourself, the true root of confidence and spiritual alignment. Like this video, share it with someone on the same path, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of awakening. 7. Developing intuition reconnects you with the body's ancient wisdom. Carl Jung saw intuition as one of the 4 foundational pillars of human consciousness, equal to thinking, feeling, and sensing. Yet in today's logic-obsessed world, intuition is often dismissed as unreliable or irrational. But the truth is, intuition is not a fantasy. It is a deep, embodied intelligence that flows through your nervous system, your breath, your skin. It is the spiritual wisdom stored not in your mind, but in your body. Every time your chest tightens when you're about to say yes to something you don't want, every time your stomach knots before walking into a room, your body is trying to tell you what your conscious mind has been trained to override. Intelligence is not just mental sharpness. It is the ability to sense, to feel, to recognize subtle energies and respond to them with clarity. Real confidence is not loud. It is rooted in self-trust, in the quiet certainty that comes from knowing what your body is whispering before your mind even forms a thought. This is where true spiritual awakening begins, not in more knowledge, but in deeper presence. When you slow down enough to check in with your body, to ask, "Where am I tense?" or "What am I avoiding feeling right now?" you reclaim access to a sacred inner compass. You're no longer outsourcing decisions to opinions, trends, or fears. You're listening to the ancient intelligence running through your veins. Jung taught that the unconscious is not a chaotic void, but a rich landscape of meaning waiting to be heard. And the way we hear it is through sensation, not thought. Through breath, not words. Through the feeling of a yes or a no that rises before explanation. Daily rituals of reconnection, silent mornings, intuitive journaling, body check-ins before big decisions aren't just wellness trends. They are spiritual practices that help you return to yourself. They sharpen your discernment. They rewire your nervous system to stop seeking permission and start honoring your inner authority. Because spiritual maturity is not about escaping the body, it's about becoming fully present within it. The more you listen, the more you realize your body has been speaking truth all along. Not loud or dramatic, but in the smallest of shifts. A breath held, a jaw clenched, a sudden warmth in your heart when you speak what's real. These are not coincidences. They are communication. You don't need to explain your intuition to anyone. That's the secret confident women carry. They don't debate their instincts. They don't beg for proof. They simply feel, trust, and move. There is power in that kind of silent certainty. A woman rooted in her body is rooted in truth. And that kind of presence cannot be imitated. It's not about appearing confident. It's about being in harmony with your own energetic truth. When your mind and body speak the same language, decisions become effortless, boundaries become natural, and clarity becomes your resting state. That is not a performance. That is power. 8. Setting boundaries is a sacred act of self-respect. Boundaries are not barriers to connection. They are bridges to self-respect. In a world that constantly asks you to give more, explain more, tolerate more, the most radical act of spiritual awakening is simply to say, "This is where I end and where I begin." Boundaries aren't just emotional preferences. They are energetic declarations that guard your inner sanctuary. Carl Jung taught that individuation requires you to integrate your shadow and claim your wholeness. And part of that process is realizing that your sacred energy deserves protection, not constant exposure. When you allow people to drain your energy without consequence, you send a signal to your subconscious that your peace is negotiable. But every time you choose to honor your need for silence, solitude, or space, you rebuild the foundation of trust with your own soul. Each small act of boundary setting, declining a draining conversation, stepping back from chaotic dynamics, choosing rest over obligation, is a whisper from your higher self saying, "You are worthy of peace." And the more you listen, the stronger your spiritual wisdom becomes. Boundaries are not about punishment. They are not reactions. They are intentions. They are daily rituals that keep your spirit clear, your purpose intact, and your intuition sharp. In modern life, where noise is constant and expectations unrelenting. Protecting your inner world is not selfish, it's sacred. It is the foundation of all spiritual intelligence. There is a subtle but powerful shift that happens when a woman stops betraying herself to be liked. She no longer waits for external validation to feel safe. She no longer softens her truth to fit into spaces that feel spiritually cold. She becomes a woman who does not explain her boundaries. She embodies them. Her presence becomes a frequency. Her silence becomes a shield. Her clarity becomes magnetic. People feel her alignment before she speaks. And that is the energy of someone who has awakened. Someone who understands that spirituality is not about being endlessly open. It's about being exquisitely aligned. If you feel discomfort when enforcing your boundaries, know that this is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you're breaking old contracts of self-abandonment. The discomfort is not proof you're doing it wrong. It's proof you're healing. You're learning to choose yourself without guilt, without apology, without flinching. You're learning that your purpose, your presence, and your peace are not things to be negotiated, explained, or earned. They are your birthright. When you set boundaries, you're not pushing people away. You're pulling your spirit back home. And in that sacred return, you meet the most powerful version of yourself. The one who doesn't beg to be protected, she becomes the protection. To affirm your sacred commitment to self-respect, comment below, "I honor my boundaries." Let this be your powerful declaration that setting limits is not selfish. It's spiritual. Your strength inspires others to rise in their worth too. 9. A woman with self-trust heals others without trying. A woman who trusts herself radiates healing without even trying. She doesn't need to speak to soothe the room. Her energy does it for her. People feel safe around her, not because she offers advice or solutions, but because her nervous system is calm, grounded, and deeply regulated. She has done the quiet spiritual work that most avoid facing the shadows, healing the pain, and integrating her truth. And now, her very presence feels like home to others. She walks into a space, and without saying a word, hearts open. This is not charisma. This is coherence. Carl Jung once wrote, "Who looks inside, awakes." And that's exactly what she has done. She has awakened through the path of spiritual development, not by seeking validation, but by standing in wholeness. She no longer performs for approval. She no longer rushes to be chosen. She no longer tries to prove her worth because she knows it. Her confidence doesn't demand attention. It commands respect through stillness. Her aura is quiet, but powerful. She's not interested in being seen by the world. She's interested in seeing herself clearly. That clarity becomes a mirror for others, not a mirror that flatters, but one that reveals. When people are in her presence, they feel called to rise, not because she tells them to, but because something in her reminds them of who they truly are. Her spiritual presence awakens what has been dormant in others. It's not forceful, it's magnetic. She has become a living embodiment of safety, alignment, and truth. She holds space without needing to control the outcome. She listens not to reply, but to feel. She observes rather than reacts. And this emotional discipline, this inner peace, is not something she was born with. It's something she built, one sacred choice at a time. The more she softened into her truth, the more her energy solidified into power. She doesn't need to defend her boundaries. Her frequency makes them known. She doesn't explain her worth. Her energy confirms it. She doesn't chase love. She is love, grounded in the clarity of self-knowing. In her stillness, there is strength. In her silence, there is language. In her restraint, there is revolution. This is the power of spiritual development, not to change others, but to change the atmosphere simply by being who you are without apology. She is not trying to fix the world. She simply shows up whole, and wholeness heals. Her lessons are not taught, they are felt. She teaches you to trust your own timing, to honor your own process, to stop abandoning your soul for the comfort of others. And perhaps the most radical thing she does is allow others to witness a woman who does not betray herself to belong. That image lingers long after she leaves the room. She is a reminder that true healing is not performance. It is presence, not noise, but resonance, not effort, but embodiment. Through her, we remember that spirituality is not a look or a label. It's the energy of integrity, and it is always unmistakable. 10. Self-rust is a daily relationship, not a destination. Self-trust isn't something you arrive at. It's a sacred rhythm you commit to each day through the small, quiet choices no one sees. Confidence is not some magical quality you're born with. It is forged in the fires of daily decisions, boundary setting, and keeping your promises to yourself when it's easier to break them. It's not loud, it's not boastful, and it doesn't need to be announced. It builds silently every time you walk away from what drains you and lean into what expands you. True confidence is not the absence of fear. It's refusing to let fear drive the car. You feel the doubt, the tremble, the vulnerability, but you show up anyway. And that's where the power lives. Carl Jung said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." Confidence isn't about appearances. It's about consistency. It's spiritual wisdom in action, a form of inner intelligence that no external praise can give and no criticism can take away. A spiritually intelligent woman doesn't strive to be fearless. She simply refuses to be controlled by fear. She's not performing strength. She is becoming it. She doesn't run from her wounds. She integrates them. She doesn't need to over-explain, prove, or beg to be understood. She speaks less, but says more. Her energy speaks before her mouth opens. There's a grace in her silence and a boundary in her stillness. She's not chasing validation because she knows her presence is enough. That knowledge doesn't come from books or compliments. It comes from showing up for herself when it was hard, from telling the truth when lying would have been easier, from honoring her intuition even when logic said no. She has met every version of herself, the confused, the broken, the bitter, and didn't run. That is the kind of woman who glows without trying. She doesn't radiate because life was easy. She radiates because she chose not to be hardened by it. This kind of spiritual awakening doesn't announce itself. It reveals itself through how you treat yourself when no one's watching. It shows in how you protect your peace without apology, how you say no without guilt, and how you walk away not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Carl Jung taught that we return to our authentic self, not by pretending to be better, but by becoming more real. And the realest women are the ones who no longer perform to be accepted. They rest in their own vibration, in their own alignment. They know that the most intelligent confidence is quiet, sacred, and embodied. It doesn't scream. It simply exists. She has nothing to prove, because she is not driven by the illusion of being chosen. She knows she already is. So the secret confident women never say out loud is this: they built themselves in private, healed themselves in silence, and now they move through the world with an unshakable grace that only comes from radical self-trust. Thank you for spending this time with us here on Spiritual Wisdom. If today's message spoke to something deep within you, if it revealed a truth you've always known but never had words for, then this is your invitation to go deeper. Confidence doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it's the quiet power of a woman who knows who she is. If you felt that power today, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss the next awakening moment. Until next time, stay grounded, stay wise, and remember, your presence is the loudest truth you'll ever speak.